At some point, we all hit a crossroads where we realize our financial habits aren't matching our goals. I was no different. For years, I spent without a clear focus, until a few major shifts forced me to rethink everything. In this video, I'll walk you through how I refined my spending to align with my new goals. Stick with me, because by the end, I'll share the one thing that changed my whole perspective on money. Trust me, it's something you'll want to hear. First, let's talk about why refining your spending is more important than just saving. When most people talk about money, they focus on saving. But what if I told you that saving more doesn't always lead to the best results? It's about spending smarter, aligning your financial habits with your true priorities. I used to think that cutting back on my daily coffee runs would save me the most money, but honestly, it wasn't the small stuff that was hurting me. It was the bigger decisions, the subscription services, the impulse buys, the habits that didn't even align with what I truly wanted. Here's the thing. I realized that my spending had been a reflection of my past goals, not my current ones. When you're just blindly spending, you're not making conscious choices. You're just going through the motions. I had to ask myself, what do I actually want to achieve? And how does my spending today help or hurt that vision? I made it clear to myself that if I wanted to level up my finances, I couldn't keep living in autopilot. That's when I started breaking down my expenses, not just reviewing them, but analyzing them with intention. For example, I had a few recurring expenses that I never questioned, those gym memberships I never used, that streaming service I barely watched. These were leaks in my budget that I never noticed. Once I identified them, I was able to reallocate that money into something that would actually benefit my goals, like investing or building an emergency fund. Now, I'm not saying you should cut out every little luxury, but what if you spent just a little less on things that aren't aligned with your current goals? That's the difference. It's not about deprivation, it's about intentionality. Spending aligned with your bigger vision. For me, it meant realizing what I truly valued, and letting that dictate my purchases instead of mindlessly following old habits. Here's the next step I took, creating a budget that felt right. I didn't follow some cookie-cutter budget template. Instead, I made a customized one that reflected my personal goals. This wasn't just about limiting my spending. It was about being intentional with my money. I aligned each dollar with a purpose. If I was putting money into a category, it was because it was supporting my vision. Whether it was travel, retirement savings, or investing in my personal development, my spending was no longer scattered. But here's the game changer. The biggest insight I had in this process was about mindset. The more I focused on aligning my spending with my goals, the more I saw money as a tool, one that was helping me build the life I wanted. Instead of feeling guilty about cutting certain things out, I felt empowered. I realized that my spending wasn't restricting me. It was freeing me to focus on what truly mattered. And if you're still here, I bet you're wondering, how can I make sure this doesn't get derailed? The answer is tracking. At first, I didn't track every single penny, but once I started tracking, it became so much easier to stay on top of my goals. I found apps that helped me see where my money was going, and it was eye-opening. Tracking isn't just for budgeting. It's a way to keep yourself accountable, to really see whether your spending aligns with your vision. If you're sitting there thinking, this sounds great, but it seems like a lot of work, I get it. But trust me, it's worth it. These changes have made a huge difference in my life, and they're not as hard to implement as you might think. The key is being intentional. Be honest with yourself. If your current spending habits aren't supporting your goals, it's time to shift. And remember, it doesn't have to be drastic. Just start with small changes that move you in the right direction. By the way, if you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. I make content that's driven by value, not affiliate commissions or hidden incentives. You'll get content focused on improving your finances and mindset without any sales pitches attached.